What is up, everyone? Prometheus here. Today I'd like to talk about a subject that I've been working on for quite a while. So, back this year in June, I saw a video, or I thought, was it June? What year, what month was it? I saw a video by a YouTuber known as Mullet Man Comics. It was June. So, back in June, I watched a video by Mullet Man Comics, a YouTuber that I really like. He goes over who he considers the most vile villain in fiction ever. Am from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. And I was currently at that time I was currently working on that fantasy novel that I've talked about, and I did bring up that I wanted to make its main villain the most evil villain in fiction ever. So I decided I'm gonna look at what are already the most evil villains in fiction ever. So we're looking at Am from I Have No Mouth by a Scream. There's also Judge Holden from Blood Meridian, of course. You can't forget him. So many different villains that I've looked into. Griffith from Berserk. You can't forget about this guy. And different villains like Final Fantasy villains, mainly Kefka, because Sephiroth went insane. Anyways, and the three fictional villains that are most commonly considered the most evil of all time are Judge Holden, Am, and of course the Q from All Tomorrows, who are, I looked into them, yeah, they're insanely evil. So I'm trying to make the villain of my book the most evil villain in fiction. And since then, I've made him do some pretty vile things, yeah. So, in that pursuit, I also looked into finding the single most evil, not some of the most evil, the most evil villain in fiction ever, currently. So I looked through dozens of different vile fictional villains, more than just these guys. Like, there's common ones like Sauron, Joker, Emperor Palpatine. Sauron isn't even the most evil character in the Tolkien fandom. That goes to Morgoth from the Silmarillion, which is one of my favorite books of all time, by the way. Morgoth, literally the devil of the Middle Earth universe. And there's so many other great evil villains. Ones in animation. Like, you can't forget about anime villains. Like there's Frieza from Dragon Ball, and all the other really evil ones like the Major from Hellsing Ultimate, and you can't forget about Shao Tucker from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and Full Metal Alchemist and the manga. Like, exactly why this guy is one of the most hated characters in anime. You know exactly what he did. Yeah, so there's many evil characters. I'm looking at but I was looking for who is objectively the most evil character in fiction. One that I would kind of try to make my character in my book more evil than. Who is the most evil character in fiction ever? I looked through dozens and dozens and dozens. There's a YouTuber channel called The Vile Eye who made a tier list. I looked at all those villains, and I took elements from each of them to make my villain more vile and evil than them. And I looked through different obscure villains, ones that, like, tons of really evil ones. You just think of some of the most evil villains of all time. You think of one, I've probably went over it, and overall, all of them are very evil. Of all of them, I'd say Am is probably the most evil I've seen beforehand. That's a bit blurry, but Am's in that corner right there. Judge Holden is still a psychopath. The Cumic, the Xenomorphs look like pesky little bugs in comparison. Yeah, plenty of very vile and evil characters I have found. Plenty, like these YouTubers. Credits to Mullet Man Comics for the kind of inspiration to start doing this video. You also went over Nemesis, who is also really evil, and the guy from Outlast, who, yeah, that's messed up. Yeah, so I thought I wouldn't be able to find who is one that is so evil, because each of them have so many different evil elements. I need to find one villain that puts all the other ones to shame. One that would make Joker look like a joke in comparison. That would make Am look like a pesky little computer virus in comparison. That would make Judge Holden go cry to his mother. Make Satan pray to God by the sheer mention of his name. someone that I could try and make my villain measure up to. It's been months and I haven't been really able to find one. It's hard because there's so many villains out there. But recently I discovered a game, and in it lies who may be not only the most evil character in fiction, but probably the most evil thing, like, well, the more evil than any other thing in existence, in fiction and in existence. Like, probably the most evil, so evil, I found a character so evil that I don't think my character could even measure up to him. And my character has already done some vile things. My book isn't done yet, but once you read the book, you'll see that he's vile. But this character defines the word vile. He is the most evil character I have ever had the displeasure of reading up on. So evil, in fact, that I had to stop researching him for a while. I had to go pray. I bought a bunch of rosaries. Yes, I bought a bunch of rosaries because this character was so vile, so evil. So much so that I don't think I could ever top him. To seize that throne from him with my character, no matter how evil I make him. Now, I bet you're wondering which villain I'm talking about. Well, he's more of an obscure villain, and like the evil trio have done some really, really bad things. Judge Holden, he has some of the worst crimes under his belt. Am literally erased 100%, like all of humanity except for 5 people, which he would torture for over a century, to satiate his hatred towards humans. The Q, they committed galactic war crimes worse than the Empire could ever hope to commit. Yeah, they're all really, really bad. And for a long time, I thought Am might just be the one. I'm gonna just have to stick with Am because none of them measured up to him. The only one that came close was Morgoth. Well, I was kind of big on Morgoth or Am as the most evil characters ever. But then, I came over an obscure video game. And the crimes that this character commits, the reasons, his motives behind them, and just how evil he is, would put this evil trilogy to shame. Evil trio to shame. That would make every villain that I've ever went over in my research to shame. Make Griffith look redeemable. Like, I don't know how to break this to you. I'm gonna go over him in this video. This video is probably gonna be my darkest video yet. Like, me and Major are gonna run a kid-friendly channel, but this one, like, this character's from... Okay, this is gonna sound weird, but the most evil character in fiction is from a kid's game. Yeah, a kid's game. But honestly, the villain's so evil that I'm surprised this game is a kid's game. I'm gonna have to reveal it to you soon enough, so... how do I break this to you? There's a YouTuber named Josh Scorcher who does lists on video games and stuff. He's a great YouTuber, and I came across one of his videos where he ranked some of the most evil villains in fiction ever. Or in video games, at least. And when I watched it, his number 1 pick stood out to me. Maybe this... I thought to myself, maybe this could be the guy. The most evil villain in fiction. So, I read up on him, I did research, and... by God, where do I begin with this guy? The character that I'm talking about is from a video game on a Nintendo console It's a more of an obscure one, but I did a lot of digging, and I finally found who may be the most evil character in fiction, most vile. I'm, of course, talking about the main villain of the Game Boy Advance game Mega Man Zero, Dr. Wile, or Dr. Vile in Japan, which is a much more fitting name because where do I begin with this guy? I will say he is a bit similar to Am, where he's driven by hatred and sadism. And now, when you're measuring someone's evil, you don't really measure them by like the kill count or the damage they do, but rather like the motives, their ideologies. I'm measuring this guy by both, because there is no other villain I have ever researched that measures up to the vileness. Like, Vile, I'm going to refer to him as Dr. Vile, that's his Japanese name, which is a much more fitting name, because this guy is the most vile, most evil character in media ever, in fiction. So, where do I start with him? Objectively speaking, he is the most evil character ever. Not even in my opinion, just objectively. Like, man, where do I begin? Where do I even begin? What makes him worse than Am is that Am was a computer. And as evil as Am is, yeah, he's still super evil. It's probably the second most evil character of all time, Am, right behind this guy. But the gap between this guy and Am is really long, because the difference is that Am hated humanity so much, destroyed it. But here's the thing. He's a computer. Computers aren't like humans, they think differently. He was a supercomputer created for war. War is evil. Therefore, Am became evil because that was what he was created for. And since he was a computer, he was isolated from the freedom humanity had, and that obviously made him hateful, spiteful, jealous towards humans. And now, I'm not saying that justifies his actions by any means, but it makes him a smidge less evil, or like, it makes him less evil than Dr. Vile, because unlike Am, Dr. Vile is a man. And his hate isn't justified. He wasn't created for war. He was a scientist, and he's from the Mega Man Zero series, which are really, really good games, actually. Really good games. Mega Man Zero, then there's also Mega Man Zero 2, Zero 3, Zero 4. There's 4 Zero games. Quite a few of them. And they're all pretty good, really good. Some of the best Mega Man games, for sure. And Josh Scorcher was the one who introduced him to me. The YouTuber. And he best sums it up as well, but I'm going to try to give my own summary to it as well. So, what makes Dr. Wile, or Vile, the most evil character in fiction? Well, I'll start at the beginning. Dr. Wile is... So, after the war between humans and robots in Mega Man X, the humans and robots are at peace. The robots are basically like their own people now, and there's peace. But Dr. Vile is dissatisfied with this peace. He is basically a racist in this universe. He hates all of robot kind and wants them to suffer and become slaves to humans. Already, right off the bat, that is really, really bad. It's like Am. The only difference is that this guy's a man. So it's human hatred rather than, like, robotic hatred. I guess he's part robot as well, but anyways, so what he does is he releases a disease which makes the robots go haywire and attack the humans and start another war. So he makes the robots who are at peace with humans kill the humans, out of hate. And in this war, he causes so much damage that he kills 90% of all of robots and 60% of humans, being responsible for over half of the deaths of both races, all out of hatred and sadist. And he takes pleasure in this. Oh, yeah. This man is a sadist. He is a racist. Anyways, and that's only the first few games. After he's defeated, he's made immortal and punished. He's made immortal, which is stupid. They shouldn't have made him immortal. They should have killed him, because then he wouldn't commit even more crimes. What's next? Becomes a tyrant. Now he wants all of he doesn't just want robots to suffer, he wants humans to suffer as well. Basically, he hates everyone in existence and just wants them to suffer, wants them to be destroyed. And that's basically his motive. He hates everyone. So he becomes a tyrant. And he destroys anyone that he doesn't like. He destroys so many people. He sees everyone as disposable. He sees people as objects to be destroyed, to be just... Play the games and you'll see. And once he, as a dictator, many people and robots leave and go take refuge on another planet. So what does he do as a last-ditch effort? What does Dr. Vile do? He tries to drop an entire space station on the people taking refuge, to destroy them as a last-ditch effort, which, spoilers, ultimately kills the main character of the game in the fourth game. Which, yeah, that's just the base level covering of it all. This man is driven by hatred and sadism alone. He had no reason to do all this, no reason to hate. There was peace in the world. But Dr. Vile just had to start another war which killed most of the world's population just because I want the robots to suffer. I want the humans to suffer. I want everyone who isn't me to suffer. That's basically a summary of why he does all this. And he does all this with a smile on his face. He does all this without remorse, and no one, even the people who work for him, are safe from him. He sees everyone as disposable, and he is just spiteful, dastardly. You could say cartoonishly evil, but honestly, I don't know what to say about this kind of evil, because Dr. Weil is, honestly, I thought Am was evil. And then I saw this man. Am killed all of the humans in existence except for 5 of them, let's say, and tortured them. But this man killed 90% of robots and 60% of humans. And tried to kill the ones taking refuge. And that's just we're just scratching the surface with this guy. And I can't really explain all of it in this video, because I'm probably going to be here for over an hour. So I recommend you go play Mega Man 0, 1 to 4, and you'll see the true reaches of this man's evil. Or just watch Josh Scorcher's review video of it, and he can summarize it for you as well. Because this one isn't enough. So, yeah. I have found the most evil character in fiction, Dr. Weil, and Dr. Vile. And honestly, I don't know what else to say about this guy. If I want to make the most evil character in fiction with my upcoming book, I got some really big shoes to fill, because I don't know how I could top this guy. But then again, nothing is impossible with fiction. So, maybe I could top him, though it's going to be really hard. So for now, the most evil character in all of fiction is Dr. Weil from Mega Man 0 series. See you in the next one. I will discuss League of Legends.